Hello and welcome to part 35 of the series on how to create a chess game with ReactJS. In this part, we are going to continue working on displaying the moves on the right side. We are going to also show which team has played the move, which piece was moved, and we are also going to make it just a little bit more beautiful. Great, so now that we have the positions on the right side right here, what we want to do is we want to make them more beautiful. Because right now we see x0, y4. We don't even see which piece was moved. We don't see which team it was. We don't see which location it came from. So in order to fix that, what we are going to do is we're going to add a new model. And this new model will be going into our models folder right here. And we're going to name it Move.ts. And this Move.ts, export class move. And right here, we want to have a theme, which will be of theme type. We want to also display the from position, which will be a position. And then we also want to display a to position, which will be position. And then what we also want to do is we want to display the move type. No, not the move type. We want to display the piece type. So right here we say piece, and this will be equal to piece type. So with this information, we know which team played the move, which piece was moved, and from where to where it was moved. Next, we want to add a constructor. And in this constructor, we want to accept those parameters. So we are going to copy over those, paste them in here, and we are going to add some commas instead of the semicolons, like so. And then right here, what we want to say is this.team is equal to team, this.piece is equal to piece, and then the same for the from position and the to position. Like so. All right, so now that we have this, what we want to do is we want to add it to the board. So instead of having an array of moves at the top or an array of positions, we want to have an array of moves. So we say move, and by saying this, we see that we automatically import the move model from /move. And then here we get an error because moves is no longer a position array. Instead, it is a move array, like so. And then down here, we get the same thing where we say, hey, we don't have a clone method on our move. That's something that we're going to add as well. However, before that, we want to fix this error right here, where we are pushing a new position in our moves array. Instead of pushing the position, we want to push a new move. However, even before we are going to do that, we are going to simplify this a little bit, because this castling move or this castling if statement will return true and it will calculate all moves. Okay, so what if we don't return true right here? And what happens then? If we enter this if statement, everything will happen, and then we calculate all moves, but we don't return true, which means that we go forth. Then right here, we go into the ampersand move, then in this valid move, if the ampersand move was not true, and otherwise we are going to return false, and then at the end, we're going to return true. So basically, the only difference is that we are returning true at the end, instead of returning true inside of our castling method right here, or our castling if statement. So what we want to do is we are going to say else if right here. And now we don't need to calculate all the moves right here, or we do. No, we don't even need to do that. And we don't need to return true either, because we do that at the end of the method. So if we remove this.calculate all moves, we also want to remove the moves.push. Right here we want to remove the calculate, and right here as well, because everything that's happening inside of those three if statements will eventually come here. And if we just put the logic inside of here for all the three if statements, or castling, because castling now comes through here as well, we can just say this.calculate all moves, and now we have all the logic in one place, which also means that we only need to push the move from here and not in the castling if statement, and then for the other two if statements differently. We can do it all in the same position right now. So we want to push a new move, right here, we say new move, and this move needs a theme type. So let's scroll to the top, and let's see right here, we have a ampersand move, destination, we have a plate piece.theme. So the theme type will be equal to the plate piece.theme. So right here, we say plate piece.theme. Then we need the piece type, which will be plate piece.type, like so. Then we'll have position, which will be equal to plate piece.position. And then we will have the destination, which will be just the destination. The destination is a position that we get as a parameter in this method. We also want to clone those positions just to be sure, like so. And now if we save it up and then zoom a little bit out, the error is gone. We still get one right here because we don't have a clone method on our moves. So if we go into our move right here, we see that we don't have a cloned method. However, if we go to, say for example, the board right here, we see that we have a clone method. So we also want to add it to here. We want to say clone, and this will return a move. Then we return new move, and this move will have this.theme, this.piece, this.fromPosition.clone, and then also the this.toPosition.clone, like so. And then let's add an enter right here, and now it fits in the screen nicely. So we have made a clone method for our move. And now if we save this up and then go to our board, we see that the error right here is gone because we now clone our moves. And if we go to our referee right here, we see that we get another error because our move doesn't have an X and a Y value anymore. If we look at this, we see that we have a from position, a piece, and a theme. So let's render the theme and the piece. Let's see what happens then. If we save this up and then refresh the page, if we now move this one, we see X is equal to W because this was the theme, and then Y will be equal to pawn. What happens if we move the knight to this position? I think it will show X B and Y knight. As you can see, we do get the XB and the Y knight, which means that's working successfully. Alright, so instead of displaying this, we want to make it a little bit more readable. So we can do it right here, but we can also integrate it inside of the move. So right here, what we want to do is we want to make a new method, which will be toMessage. And this will return a string, and we want to return a string, which will include some variables. So we are going to add backticks. And the way that we want to display our message will be theme is equal to theme type dot opponent. Then we say, okay, black, and otherwise we say white. And then we want to say moved. And then we are going to add another variable right here for the piece. So right now we should have something like white moved pawn or black moved queen. And then we want to add another piece of text right here from position. And then we are going to add the variable from position dot x, comma, and another variable, this dot from position dot y. And then let's add a new line just so that we can read it a little bit better, like this. And then one right here as well. And then after we have done that, we want to add the toPosition. toPosition. And then right here we say this dot toPosition dot x, comma, this dot toPosition dot y dot. Alright, so now a message should be, if the theme is black, for example, black moved queen or knight or pawn from position xy to position xy. Alright, let's test it out by going into the referee, and then right here, instead of rendering the text that we had right here, we're going to say m.toMessage, like so. And now if we save this up and refresh the page, if we move our white pawn from here, which is above the king, and we move it 2 spaces up, what do you think will happen? I think we'll get a message which says white moved pawn from position 4, 2 to position 4, 3. White moved pawn from position 4,1 to position 4,3. Nice. Now if you move this pawn, we see that we get black move pawn from position 6,6 to position 6,5. We can also do it with the knight, with the bishop, with the queen, with the king as well. And as you can see, we now get the full history of all the moves that we have played. Amazing. However, we also want to add a little bit more styling to this, because right now everything is just at the top, and it would be a little bit nicer if if those messages would be displayed at the bottom. Now, if we select this element right here and then go to the moves, we want to add a display of flex. We also want to add a justify content of flex n. And right now we should not be able to see anything different because it's now in a row. So we also want to add a flex direction of column like so. And now it is just the same as we had before. And we also want to add a flex grow of 1, which means that the container is always the full size. And as you can see right now, we see that the messages are being rendered at the bottom. So now if we move this pawn right here, the new position is added at the bottom and the rest of the messages go up. And if we play a lot of moves, like this for example, then we should be able to see the scroll bar appearing. All right, so what we want to do is we want to go into our referee.css. Right here we go to referee.css, and our moves column right here, or the moves section, will have a display of flex. Then we also want to add a flex direction of column, so they are underneath each other. And right now we want to also add a justify content flex end, because this will cause all the elements to go to the bottom of the container. In this case, the end of the container, but since we are rendering in a column, the end of the container means the bottom. However, right now the container is just as big as its content, so we need to specify that we want to grow this container when it's possible. So we say flex grow 1, and now as you can see, the container has grown and we see that the elements are being rendered at the bottom. We also want a little bit of padding for the box itself, so we want to say information, and then right here underneath the width we want to say padding of 1 rem, like so. And then we also don't want the padding to increase the width and the height of this container, so we want the padding to be on the inside. So what we're going to say is box sizing border box, which means that the padding is now part of the width and the height of the element instead of adding to the width and the height of the element. Next, what we want to do is we want to also add a little spacing between the moves. So right here, instead of just having the display flex and the flex direction column, we also want to add a gap of 1 rem. And maybe 1 rem is a little bit too big. So let's change this to 0.75 rem. Nice. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to add a margin bottom to the information. Because right now, if we add a couple more moves, you see that the information is, it's on top of the moves, which is not what we want. So in order to fix that, we want to add a margin bottom to the information. And what we can also do is we can add a margin top to the moves. So I think it should also be possible to add a margin top of 2 rem to here. And now as you can see, the moves are no longer being displayed over our information, and we have kind of an invisible border right here. So if we zoom out a little bit and then hover over this HTML right here, we see that we have a little bit of a yellow container in between the current theme and the moves, which means that there is margin between them. So the elements won't go in the yellow margin, however, they will stick inside of the blue container. All right, so one thing I've noticed is that because we use justify content end, we don't get a scroll bar anymore. So right now, if we get another pawns on the board, like so, we see that we don't have a scroll bar anymore. So in order to fix that, we need to remove the justify content flex end, like so, and now we get a scroll bar again. However, if we refresh the page and we remove it from the start, we see that all the elements are displaying at the top. In order to fix that, we can add a flex direction column reverse, like so. And right now we see that the messages are being applied at the bottom. So if we now move with white, we see that the white move is being put on top of the rest of the moves. So in order to fix that, we actually want to display the messages in a reverse order. So a couple of things. First of all, we want to remove the justify content flex end because that will cause the scroll bar to disappear. The next thing that we want to do is we want to change this to column reverse. And right now, as you can see, when we move the bonds, we see that the messages are appearing at the bottom. And then if we have messages that are overflowing, like now, we see that a scroll bar is appearing on the right side, which is exactly what we want. However, the only thing that we need to fix is that the pawns or the moves that are being played at last are added to the top. So as you can see, the knight that we have just moved is being added to the top. And if we move this bishop, it's also being added to the top. We don't want that. We want them to be added to the bottom. In order to fix this, we have found a Stack Overflow post where they say, I just had to face this issue myself. And after concluding it is a bug, I came up with a workaround. In summary, don't use justify content flex end, but rather put the margin top auto on the first child. Unlike flex end, this doesn't break the scroll bar functionality and it bottom aligns the contents when they are not overflowing the container. So if we go to our app right here, and then we go to the CSS right here, we can just remove the column reverse again, like so. Then we want to, well, remove the reverse from the column reverse, like so. And now if we play a move, it is being added to the top. However, we do get the most recent move at the bottom, which is what we want. And now if we target the first move, dot information, dot moves, and then we want to target the P that is the first child of the moves array. And then we say margin top auto. If we now refresh the page and play a piece, we see that the message is being displayed at the bottom of the information container on the right side, which means that we have successfully implemented the move history. And we can also see which current team is playing. And now if we play a lot of moves, we see that the scroll bar is appearing and we can scroll between the moves that we have played. Well, let's test one more thing, which is what if we have a checkmate? So right now, if we place our queen right here, we see that we have the winning team is white. And now if we click play again, we see that the moves are emptied again, which is great because we don't want the moves to carry over onto the next session. With this, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you could follow along. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!